friends, I'm Liz.
I'm Robby, and welcome back to our channel, Bookworm Couple.
You can tell by my outfit, this is my book of choice today. I tried to go with a theme a little bit. I recommended for Robby to read Throne of Glass, which you actually had read before.
Yes, full disclosure, I have read. I think I've read the first two, maybe three books when they were coming out.
So he doesn't even know.
So like 10 years ago, probably, I was curious to see how much I would remember upon picking up the book, because not reading it, I was like, I don't remember anything. But I thought, once I pick it up, I'll probably start remembering stuff. That is not what happened. There is a single thing that I remember, and that is when Nehemia showed up, I went, I remember liking this character. And that is it. I don't remember anything that she does. I don't remember anything else, which is great. So it's basically like rereading them for the first time. And again, I didn't even come close to finishing the series. What are you doing?
I'm playing with my dress.
I didn't even come close to finishing the series, so I'm excited to dig back in.
Yeah, so we're starting with the first book in the Throne of Glass series, Throne of Glass. Ta-da! I know a lot of people will have opinions about the order to read it. I read it in this order, and that's what I'm recommending to him because I really liked it. He did not read the prequel book first.
No.
What was recommended to me and what I really loved for the way that I read and process characters and stories was to read the first two, read the prequel, and then continue on. And we'll figure out if he's going to do the tandem read or not when we get there.
I'm not going to do the tandem read.
Also, because we know, I'm sure those of you who are watching this are fellow Sarah J. Maas lovers, we know how she writes. If you can avoid spoilers in the comments, that would be really, really great. Because I'm already struggling having him read this and not giving him all the spoilers. So if you can also help me with that, that would be so great. And help the rest of us, because if someone hasn't read it, there are a lot of potential spoilers.
I mean, we may touch on spoilers in the discussion today, but just for this book.
And moving on, we'll definitely touch on spoilers, but there's a lot of this world building to come, so keep the comments a little hush-hush, a little secretive. We can use codes. I'll get them. I'll know them.
Or not.
No, my Sarah J. Maas gals, they know the codes.
Cool.
Right? Anyways, this is my Selena outfit that I felt like was very appropriate.
It's very beautiful.
And I've got dagger earrings, which felt very, very Selena. So, to start off, do you want to give a synopsis?
Yeah, okay.
So
this is a very succinct synopsis of just what the book is for anyone who hasn't read it, which I think is probably no one, so this is probably just for me. It is the story of a teenage, 18, right, female assassin named Selena. She is pulled out of prison to compete in a tournament to become the king's champion. And essentially, that is really all that happens in this book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's really the entire plot.
Yeah. Pretty honestly, yeah.
Yeah, no, and there's nothing. I love a tournament book. Don't get me wrong.
Love a tournament.
I'm not saying that as a knock.
That's a very common trend in fantasy.
Absolutely, especially if you like anime or if you like progression fantasy. But anyway, so that's most of it. It's about a female assassin who was imprisoned and then gets to fight other ne'er-do-wells, essentially, to potentially become the king's champion in exchange for her freedom after a certain period of time. And in between then, there's a lot of... there's a fun mystery, there's a lot of intrigue, there's a lot of budding romance.
Oh, always. The only way.
Which, to be honest with you, not as much as I thought. This was like
I know. Well, this is, for those of you who don't know, this is Sarah J. Maas's first book that I believe she wrote when she was like 16, 18 or something, and it was like online, and then it got produced, I suppose would be the word, or published, I guess. Yeah. So it was definitely a young adult series, so there's not as much of romance in this series just yet.
It is very romantic, though. Much more romantic than really anything else I read.
Which is funny because this is pretty tame romance.
No, and I assume it is, but it is, my only other frame of reference is, in fact, Twilight, so
oh gosh, we're gonna change your world.
Yeah, but yeah, so I think that's a pretty good synopsis. I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think you nailed it. You're better at being short and succinct than I am.
Well, I don't want to go into a ton of spoilers until we start really discussing the nitty-gritty of the book, so.
Alright, well, let's discuss the nitty-gritty.
Okay. Well, I mean, we can jump right in on the magic system because boy, oh boy, does it not exist yet. They really, I mean, yes, it does, clearly.
I'm going to be the while you read
It does exist. It's very much the, like, leave them wanting more thing of it. Because it's obviously there. They spend the whole book saying, like, well, the magic's all gone, but it's very obviously not.
Said no more magic.
So when it does start very obviously happening towards the end of the book, it does make it a bit more exciting. Which
I'm so excited.
Okay, I am very excited to see how the world building opens up and the very not subtle hints of like potential spoilers. I don't actually know if this is a spoiler, but I feel pretty confident in what I'm about to say, that she is clearly related to Elena and whoever those former royals are, and she clearly has magic, so she's clearly royalty and has magic, which brings me to a point that actually did kind of bother me about the book.
Okay, there we go. What didn't you like? Tell me.
Relative power levels, which is a nitpicky thing, and I know probably won't bother some people, and it usually doesn't bother me at all, but it did bother me that, like, sure, she's 18 and she's the greatest assassin in the land. Fine, great. She went through incredible training that made her so dope. However, then there's Cain, who, spoilers, at first it's very clear something's going on with Cain. We don't know what his deal is, but he keeps getting bigger, which I found to be super funny.
Just
like it's literally because it's revealed at the end that he is literally magically juicing.
Yeah.
And so cool. I kept picturing him as like a human meatball, kind of like boom, but he just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it just made me laugh. Still, the whole time, people are like, well, maybe she'll beat him. But also not asking themselves, and there are multiple people in on this plot to make Cain super buff and really strong.
Magically buff.
Like magically buff, and literally inhumanly strong, so that no one could possibly beat him. But all of these people are still afraid that this normal human could possibly win. And they never really explain in a way that I think is satisfactory why no one thinks, wait, maybe she has magic. No one says anything.
But who else?
The whole time.
Who else thinks she's gonna win besides like her bros?
Everyone. What do you mean? The guy,
like
what's his name? The Duke. She spends a lot of the time being in the middle of the pack on purpose, but then once she starts showing her abilities, everyone starts thinking that she's going to win. And also the Duke, what is that guy's name?
Oh, yeah, I don't remember his name.
I don't remember his name, but he drugs her tea, because he's afraid that Cain will lose, even though he is the one who has been making sure that Cain is juicing. That makes no sense.
But what if big and slow can easily be beaten by like small and fast?
There are, and this is a specific example within the book in which she says when she finds Cain downstairs summoning the monster, there is a bit where she says he moves faster than is humanly possible. Then later in that same chapter or the next one, she thinks, but I'm faster than him, which is...
So she is.
No, that's not. No, whatever. It's a contradiction. A lot of books have contradictions.
Whatever.
But I just think it's funny. I don't have a problem, with people being super powerful. It's just if one person is like, we have evidence and know that he is like magically enhanced, and no one questions why someone who is supposed to be completely normal can not only keep up with him but beat him without any enhancements. And everyone's just like, yeah, that sounds right.
That's awesome.
At the end of the book, it did bother me a bit.
Okay. That's okay.
Yeah, that was one of the bigger ones.
Okay.
The fact that it literally says Cain moves inhumanly fast, and then she does later think, I'm faster than him, made me be like, okay.
There's something going on.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so what did you really like about the book? Or if you really liked anything?
I did. I liked a lot of things about the book. I thought the mystery was fun, which kept me intrigued while the tournament was going on. I always, like I said, I love a good tournament story.
Love a tournament.
I liked the romance aspects of it. I thought it was fun. I thought the Kale romance felt added in. Maybe I'm just not subtle enough to have really picked up on all of it.
So you're Team Dorian?
No, I'm not, actually. I'm Team Kale, I think, but I just felt... It felt very tacked on. I don't know. I think it's just because Dorian is the upfront, like, romantic lead. Yeah. I have no idea.
Well, I think his character is very charismatic.
Very charismatic.
Very charismatic.
And also, when Dorian is being written about, is extremely verbose, and there's paragraphs and paragraphs about how she feels about him and how he is and what he looks like and all this stuff. Whereas the Kale stuff is much more subdued, and there was one point, I think, like after the ball or something, where she spends the whole night with Dorian and something, but there's a bit where she says something about how, like, it really is Kale or something, and she's thinking about how, like, wait, he's been there this whole time or something, but then completely forgets it and it goes away, which,
distracted by Dorian's princeliness.
Could be. I mean, Dorian's supposed to be a gorgeous man. I did like the romance aspects of it, but the Kale, I'm assuming the Kale stuff is going to continue to grow. And I did have a question about the very end when she becomes the King's Champion. Spoiler alert, she does win. Yes. She suddenly seems to care all about the propriety of being with the prince, which is not something that she ever brought up or even thought before, which I found interesting. And I'm sure that that's not going to, I'm sure there's going to be more between them, I'm assuming. It did feel kind of odd, just because she'd never thought about it before. If it was something that she had, like, brought up once or twice, I would have been like, yeah, cool. But she never did, and she suddenly was just like, I can't be with him, it's not right. Which I thought came out of left field, but if she is also recognizing her budding feelings for Kale, then maybe it does make more sense.
Okay, so my next question for you is, how do you feel about Selena? Do you like her? Do you love her? Do you hate her? Be honest.
I like her. No, I am. I like her. It took me a minute to get used to the prose. I liked all the POV characters, actually, except for Lady Kaltain, or however you say her name.
I think it's Kaltain.
Yeah, but you're not supposed to like her.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun. I did like her. It took me a minute to get used to being in her head, especially like the first chapter where she's like acting all normal and then remembering gleefully the blood of someone's guts on her hands or something, which I was like, oh, okay. But that also, I guess, makes sense. If you've been trained to be an assassin since you're 8, you would have some issues. A thing that I did have a hard time with in the beginning was, and this is just a personal preference me thing, I think I spoke to you about this, actually.
I'm curious about.
The use of exclamation points in inner monologues takes me out of whatever.
I don't know. I think exclamation points are in my head all day, every day.
And then, this is not. This is not like actually a criticism in any way. It's just like I know personally when I see that, I'm just like and it takes me out for a little bit.
Interesting.
So that, but otherwise, I liked her. I will say it's interesting about the prose. What it focuses on is very different, I feel, than some of the other books I read. Like, there's a lot that goes into the descriptions of what characters look like and what they are wearing and stuff like that, which is nice, really nice in some ways. Like, I've also read the far opposite end of the spectrum where it's like, they have dark hair and dark eyes, and that's
Go for it.
But it made me laugh because I don't know anything about fashion, really, and I don't know what half of the terms mean. So I'll look at a paragraph and I will read the whole thing and be like, okay, it's a red dress, it looks good, awesome. And it just makes me laugh thinking about the fact that, like, you can see in your head.
Oh yeah, I have a whole.
I know exactly what this looks like and it's wonderful, and I'm just like.
And I want to recreate it.
She looks good, great.
Nailed it. Obviously, she looks amazing.
Nailed it. Which I think is very funny. But I liked that we got that all 3 of the members of the love triangle, that's not really a love triangle yet, at least, are POV characters. I enjoyed that we got to see their perspectives on everything. That's the only reason why the Kale romance works for me, is to see him acknowledging it in any way, because otherwise it would have just felt like
weird.
Yeah, I actually do find that I really quite liked Dorian as a character, which, when he's juxtaposed with his father, who is the worst, I guess that's not that hard. Yeah, I quite enjoyed Dorian. I really enjoyed all 3 of the main characters, which is good, because if I didn't, then it would be very hard to continue reading.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, I really liked all 3 of them, and I really did, I remembered, I really liked Nehemia. She's great. She's got a fun...
Awesome.
She does have a fun mystery about her. I found her to be very fun, very intriguing.
Very real.
Yeah. I really liked.
I was like, I would love to be her friend. I would hope to be her friend.
Yeah, I like I said when I was doing my very succinct synopsis, not a ton does happen in this book. It's really like she gets out of prison, she goes to the kingdom, which I did in fact forget was actually a castle made of glass, which was I thought a bit on the nose. And she's just there training until the end of this thing. But I did like the beginnings of the world building that were happening. That really intrigued me, and that's what I think the ending was very strong and really galvanizes readers to want to continue and see what's going on. I really liked how all the stuff she finds in the crypt. I like all of the visions and the, suggestions of what the world building could be, the hints of who she really is, kind of like the soft admissions of that she's related to this powerful bloodline in a way. Yeah, I really liked the last fight and how everything went down, and just how it really opens doors to, she's the king's champion now, and who knows what's going to happen there. That is honestly less interesting to me than the implications of what all of the magic stuff that's happening, which I think is probably the point.
Question, did it make you want to work out? Because it made me want to work out.
Sure didn't. Absolutely not.
I was like, she's up every morning running a mile, and I was like, okay, well, I probably should do that tomorrow.
All it reminded me of was how much I hate running.
Okay. It made me feel like it was possible. I really wanted to work out. I was like, I want to assassin workout. Not to be an assassin, but
maybe, who knows?
I'm sure she's very fit, and it very much inspired me to want to work out when I was reading this series.
Great. How long has it been since you've read this, and how well do you remember it?
This one I read last spring, so it was a year and a half ago, and I think I remember it very well. The one thing I don't remember, and I've never been good at book titles, I think because a lot of them I read are on my Kindle, so I'm not constantly seeing the title page, so that I don't remember very well.
Sure.
The major characters and major plot points, it was a series that excited me a lot, so I like to think that I remember it very well. I am due for a reread, so I might be joining you on a reread of this, because I really am craving it. I'm craving it, especially with the new Crescent City book coming out. There's more in the Sarah J. Maas franchise. I just want to be in the worlds again. Yeah, I like to think I remember it very well, but I would there's so many books, and this was my first time reading Throne of Glass. I read ACOTAR first, then Crescent City, and then I went back to read Throne of Glass, which I personally liked because I looked at it with rose-colored glasses, I think, especially because you can see, for me, I thought coming from some of Sarah J. Maas's most well-renowned work to coming to her first work, it was really fun to see where she was going to go, and to kind of watch her writing grow throughout this series specifically. So I think I remember it pretty well. I remember major characters, I'm a very emotional reader, so I think I hold on to a lot of things that made me very emotional, and this series is very highly emotional, at least for me. So we'll see once we get along, though.
Yeah,
how much I remember.
I guess we will. I had an issue, a little bit. How am I going to say this?
Oh, boy.
Everyone in this book is very young. Or at least all of the main characters in this book are very young.
I was classic fantasy.
Sure. I think Dorian and Kale
Everyone loves an 18. Everyone loves an 18 in the fantasy.
I don't remember exactly.
18, 19.
But I think Dorian and Kale are supposed to be late teens, early 20s.
I think so.
I think so.
I don't remember their exact ages.
Now, 18-year-old assassin because she has a tragic backstory. Great. The 18 to 22-year-old prince, obviously, why not? 21-year-old captain of the guard of your whole kingdom who has never killed a man seems like a questionable decision. When Kale was suddenly being I feel awful about killing Cain, I was like, how did you get this job? Nepotism, probably, because Dorian is his friend. But it did, it did make me think, what? Why? And there are also parts where Selena was suddenly, grossed out by gore, and I'm like, if you've murdered a bunch of people, it seems like you probably wouldn't be.
Yeah, but she's also years apart from that.
That's a good point.
And it's every situation is different, I'm sure. And I'm sure the headspace is different in every situation.
True.
I feel you just need to keep reading.
But yeah, when Kale was I can't get over killing Cain, it's the first time I've killed someone, I was just I don't know, because they talk a lot about how he's the youngest captain of the guard, he's super young. That's one thing, if he's a prodigy, but if he's never been, and that also implies he's never been in a fight to the death before, which if your whole job is to protect someone with your life, at least in this fantasy world.
But have they been at war?
For 10 years, yeah, they're conquering. I mean, he's not a soldier.
Yeah.
He's a captain of the guard.
Right.
But it feels like it would behoove them more to do literally any soldier who has experience taking and giving acts of extreme violence to make sure that you're protecting whoever it is you need to protect. But that's just me. I did think that was a strange detail that I didn't think was necessary. Maybe it'll come back and play a really big role in his character development. I don't know. It does feel like it's something they could have just skipped because to me it raises more questions than it answers.
Sure.
Why?
I didn't even think about it, so...
See, exactly.
Showing the audience.
Yeah, these are the things that I focus on.
That's okay. That's why we have this channel.
Yeah.
Okay, so Are we going to do rating?
Yeah, let's do a rating.
What are you going to be out of?
What's a good one?
It's a good one. It can definitely change. I mean, I feel like...
No, it's going to change. Each
like
one.
a stagger or something would be good.
I was going to say out of Thrones.
Ooh, I like Thrones. Okay, Thrones.
Glass Thrones. How many Glass Thrones out of 5? I would give this book a 3.5.
Okay.
I liked the book, didn't love it. I found it intriguing. There were enough issues, though, that pulled me out every once in a while that I couldn't get fully invested in the book, though.
So would you read the book if it weren't... Would you continue the series if it weren't for this change?
Yes, absolutely. And that's kind of cheating because I already did in the past.
Yeah.
But yes, I would.
Okay.
What do you give this book?
This first one, I would say probably a 4. 4 Thrones out of 5.
4 Thrones out of 5, all right.
But I also think I came into this series after knowing that I love the author.
Sure.
So I think I was already, like I said, very rose-colored glasses of like, I'm so excited to have more from her to read because I know I love her style. So yeah, definitely a 4.
Great.
I really enjoyed it. And I could not wait to read the next one. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I hope I get there. I hope I get to that point.
I do too. I'm so excited for you. I can't wait to talk to you about it. I just literally can't. I'm so excited. It's my favorite thing in the world. Really.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Thank you guys for watching this one, and we'll see you on our next adventure.